Hey guys, so how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back on our Husqvarna 261. What we are going to do today is go into this saw and see what makes it tick and see if we can make some performance gains. I guess the first thing we probably should do is get this crappy bar and chain off. It needs a lot of attention. It will cut, but it doesn't cut very well. I might throw in a little clip here, or may not, of it cutting. With that out of the way, saw runs good, runs really good. It's in bad need of a better chain. Honestly, looking at that, the drivers are so close on it. I honestly believe it's 325. I could be wrong, but it looks like the drivers are awfully close together on it. So we'll have to look into that. I'd rather have a 3/8 set up on this saw because me personally, I'd like to run it with a 24 on it. To my understanding is one of you fellas commented and said the main difference is between this saw and a 262. Well, it has an old school clutch that has the big spring that kind of goes around it all. But that was supposed to be the difference, was the clutch and the piston and maybe the muffler. Said clutch. It is also, clutch drum is a rim. We'll have to pull that off and inspect it, but I've came to terms that it is a 325 setup. And to my understanding, I think maybe you can put a 357, 359 clutch on this. We do have a 359 in parts. We may just try to borrow that clutch itself because that's not a high performance style clutch. We could tighten the spring up on that and maybe make it a little better, but yeah, the whole time I'd ran this thing, the chain would just kind of sit and spin no matter what you done. So you can see that clutch itself is worn slam out. I guess next maybe we'll have a peek under the hood here. Pull all that off. If you've not fooled with one of these, well, the 257 has a totally different top cover on it. This is set up more like a Pro Series saw, except for that type of air filter. I'm just not a fan of that at all, but it does go down in there and it does seal good. So, and it does look like it has a lot better setup than the 257 did as far as being able to bring air into the saw, or into the carb tract rather. And on our last screw, figured I'd hit the play button, or record button. I've kind of got the crud, I think it's just like a sinus infection or something, but seems like it's always something. We'll do something about that. I'll probably take something and clean that up and straighten it up. It's not real bad. I've seen a lot worse, but I think we can straighten that up where she's melted a little up front. And just like say a 55 or most of the saws from this era, we have the trigger that just kind of lays down in there like so. Really simple design. I kind of like that, and I kind of don't. If it makes any sense at all. The choke on these is super weird. It just kind of lays down in here and hooks into the carb, you know. It works. It is what it is, but again, kind of a, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a poor design, but I would say probably a cost-effective design. Okay guys, so I went ahead and undone the fuel line, and we have a screw right here that kind of goes down through that elbow. This ain't really a how-to, but whatever, it might help somebody that's taking one of these apart. And looking in here, I think we have the linkage off, the fuel line off, the choke off. I swear guys, I think that would be ready to pull up out of there with the cylinder. And why not just go ahead and pull the spark plug off? I mean, why not? We're right there. We're out. And in this package over here, we do have a new piston from the Duke for a 262 XP. New plug might help the performance of that a lot. Pretty burnt up. I would have done like a tree before and after, but it just really wouldn't have been fair. Because I'm going to change so much on this. We're going to change the bar chain setup and everything. You know, I'll throw up of how it was cutting just as I bought it. And, you know, but it's not going to be a true before and after or anything. This starter cover. What was funny is this one down here is already loose. My 257, that one is actually stripped out and we had to repair it. But I think I just ended up putting a longer screw in it and it fixed the issue, to be honest. We'll have to do something about that, even if it's as simple as maybe running a few big thick wire ties around to that or something to close that gap up. And the muffler, we got these bolts up top, which feel like they were about to fall out. That one was kind of tight, but kind of not. Then we got two small M4s at the bottom, M6 at the top. Pretty sure that's the same muffler that was on the 257. I still have that saw over there. I need to get a felling spot for it and get a bar and chain set up for it. A lot of times that makes a saw sell a little easier than just a power head if somebody's just looking for a saw. A complete saw. And the price of saws, if you look new, are outrageous. It's just crazy. We looked at a little 440 Husky at Lowe's. I bought one new 8 years ago. It was like $299. $374 last weekend when we looked. It was almost unbelievable. I thought they discontinued that saw, but lo and behold, at our Lowe's, there was a brand new one sitting there in the box. And that is the same muffler. I'm pretty sure it's on our 257. I'll have to further inspect, but the muffler on the 257 wasn't pinched together, which meant someone had taken it apart. So we'll have to look into that, because the way I muffler modded it, I just went in and kind of opened up this existing port, which is plenty enough for a saw this size. So I'd kind of glanced down in here as I was cleaning, and lo and behold, there is one more little screw that goes through that carb elbow or air filter mount, whatever you want to call it. So we need to get that out of there. And next, all the cylinder bolts come out and we can get that up off there. I'm not even going to map it out as is because we're changing the piston. You know, it's going to be totally modified. Maybe machine work, maybe not. We'll just have to see how it maps out. Why not take you guys along for the ride on the last cylinder bolt. They were all good and tight. Made that little pop like we should. You don't have to be over tightened, but you want them tight. You want it tight, but not too tight. You don't have to do this. I've shown it in other videos, but I like to keep my cylinder bolts separate and put those in a smaller tray. And I had all intentions of showing breaking that cylinder loose on camera, but I forgot to hit the record button. It is what it is. It happens. There we have it. Wait, what? I remember that from the 257. It doesn't have the skirts that go down into the bottom of the cylinder. Very interesting. And the base gasket stuck right to the cylinder, which in some cases would be good, but I doubt we'll end up using a base gasket. So I'm going to remove the carburetor from this setup and get it cleaned up and bring you guys back and we'll have a look. Come on, guys. What were you thinking? A dished piston? That's not cool at all. Alright guys, let's get this clutch off. What's left of it. You most definitely have to have a clutch regardless. This one, the spring has came completely loose in it. I didn't even really notice that before till now. But we'll have to see what we can come up with. But alrighty guys, I guess we can have a look at the cylinder now. Got some pretty wide transfer pockets, honestly, for a 60cc saw. These things are supposed to run really, really good, like the 262s. I mean, this thing didn't run bad in the shape it was in, and honestly, it had been sucking some, not really fines, but like maybe carbon back past the muffler. It was on its way of scoring, honestly. The port design on it, as far as the intake and the exhaust, was about identical to the 257 from what I remember, and it's not been that long ago since I done it, but this is a, it's a piston fed it's a piston fed closed port design on the transfers. Meaning it feeds the transfers through the windows of the piston, which we'll have a look at. And you'll see what I chose. I've used a lot of these pistons. First one I used, I was kind of let down on it because the coating had wore off of the piston. The coating is meant to wear off the piston, to my understanding. It's to help aid in, the break-in process, the coating on the piston is. Maybe if something wasn't 100% true in the cylinder or something, the coatings there is an added barrier, I guess. It's a moly coating. You can see it's a nice piston, single ring design. It's a windowed piston. Just to give you guys a look at what you might get if you decide to order one of those, and I paid for that. Paid full retail for it. I just believe in using good parts that, and I did verify 359 clutch will go on that, but I've got to order a clutch drum and all, so this one might be put on hold for a day or three. But let's see how the piston pin fitment is. It's pretty damn tight. That's not bad. That's probably just from some of that coating. Check the other side. That's not bad. That's about what I like to see. I don't like a pin that's too loose. I don't like one that's god-awful tight either. In most cases, you're going to have an arrow. It's going to point toward the exhaust, but if it doesn't, it's an old piston. 9 times out of 10, your locating pins are going to go to the rear. There's a lot of modern saws that have the locating pins to the front. It's due to transfer port designs, intake port designs, I guess, and it's usually on Strato saws, but I'm sure there are some old ones. I can't think of any that come to mind that might have the locating pins in the rear, and what that does, it keeps the ring from spinning around on the piston. And what we're going to do now is see if she's going to clear, I suppose. That's kind of weird. Used to Husky saws always having that skirt that drops down into the cylinder. It's so easy to help aid in lining things up. Kind of makes me wonder if this ain't a really similar design to like the high top Poland saws. It's in that same era. I have a 2800 over there that I do plan on doing something with, but There's something up weird with the fuel tank on that saw, and I think it's due to the tank vent. Holds good tank pressure till you put fuel in it, and then as soon as you start the saw, it immediately goes dumping fuel everywhere. I don't know, it's a little weird. And we're either going to have to modify the piston, cut the squish band, or put a base gasket back in it, which I would rather not do, which I don't have a problem with base gaskets. I just don't have one here, and frankly don't want to cut one out. Alrighty guys, well, we ever so slightly cleaned up the base of that cylinder, and we have taken, oh, I'm going to say a good 30 thousandths out of the combustion chamber squish band area in order for our piston to clear and have adequate squish on the saw. I like to use that little thin solder to get good precise measurements. You can use too thick of a solder and things just not add up right. If that makes any sense, you can measure it. Yeah, she's about 28 thousandths. That's a little loose, but 3 thousandths ain't gonna make or break the deal. Probably just leave it there, guys. There's gonna be people cringe at that and think it needs to be at the absolute tightest of, I don't know where people come up with 20 thousandths, but I like to leave them a little looser on a work saw. If I do send it on down the road to somebody, you know, and they don't run the best oil in the world, and you know, you end up with this, and you can get a film of carbon on that piston that's, you know, 10, 15 thousandths thick. We've all seen it, and I don't think many people are going to argue that. Not everybody wants to spend 30 bucks a quart for some super duper 2-cycle oil to go into their machines. It just, I don't do it myself. I've got a case of Steel Ultra over here right now that I bought when I bought the 661. And when the gallon of Pennzoil I'm using right now runs out, I'll gladly dump that Steel Ultra into the mix and not lose an ounce of sleep over it. But I will mix it 32 to 1. I won't mix anything at 50 to 1. With that nonsense out of the way, let's get our degree finder set up, and I'm going to pull the port map on this, and I'll let you guys know what I come up with. Anyway, numbers on this, 28 thou squish, 107, 121, 68. What are we going to do with that? Not a whole lot. It needs more intake timing. I don't really want to do much with the upper transfers at all. It's pretty good. The exhaust roof's a little low for a 60cc saw. 105, 104 would be more to my liking, so what we'll probably do is go in and lay a major cleanup on things, a polish, widen the port, and see where that lands us. It should put us in that neighborhood of where I would like it to be. 15 on the blowdown's fine. We'll see what things look like once we get the exhaust roof in order. We may tickle the upper transfers a little bit, but as far as the intake, we may go in and do a little texture work, if we even do that. Maybe notch the bottom of the piston to get our intake timing, but as far as that goes, that's kind of where we're at, guys. We're didn't go too crazy. A nice finish on the exhaust port, got it widened out. Not too wide, but wide enough. Again, real nice finish on that. Trying to get it light on everything just right. The uppers, we just kind of tickled those, didn't do a lot. Moved them about as much as I did the exhaust roof, maybe not even that much. And intake port, not much to show there at all. A little bit of texture work, and there was some Nicosil overhanging the floor of that we blended in, and I'm going to pull the remaining of the intake timing off the bottom of the piston. Final numbers on that: 105, 120, and 75. We will throw some ignition timing advance the saw just to try to get a little more RPM out of it that way, but I think she's going to be around there. I think she'll handle a 24 real nicely. Okay guys, if you remember, we had that damage here, and the reason you're seeing some wire ties is because that shroud behind there was all but in about 10 pieces, so I'm going to be on the lookout for one of those and maybe even a recoil cover just to make this thing a little nicer. And but we did do a timing advance. I advanced it maybe 4 to 6 degrees. I didn't go too crazy. I think this thing's going to make some really good compression. Reason being is it has a lot of dwell time. I didn't actually measure it, but it's more than normal. We'll just leave it at that. But if you know what dwell time is, you do. If you don't, it's the time that the connecting rod piston assemblies at bottom dead center and top dead center. I'm thinking that could have been the culprit for the dished piston. I don't know, to keep compression down on the saw, who knows, but we're flat top now. We have a smaller combustion chamber. We have a lower exhaust roof. She's gonna think, well, exhaust roof's probably similar to what it would have been stock after raising it, but it was actually past 107, closer to 107 and a half when after doing the machining. But muffler mod. What we done, we went over into the other shop. I've got a pneumatic die grinder that I like to use to open the mufflers up, because that Fordham cable does not like any kind of stamped steel like that. Hangs up, it snaps. I kind of question even that thing having a 1/4 inch mandrel set up on it, but she's opened up. Run my fingers all the way through and touch in the back. You can see daylight all the way through. Pretty nice opening, so she should have a nice thump to her, and hopefully that's the next thing you guys see. I've got to come up with something to clutch. I can put the clutch drum back on it. I can put the clutch back on it. I can reconnect that spring and run it until we get a better setup, or I can rob the clutch from my 359. I don't think it's any secret out there. It's easy to find in a Google search, but a 357, 359 style clutch, and it's a brand new highway unit. We'll go right on there. You're still going to need your 254 through 262 clutch. It does not balance out very well at all, the 24, so this might be, you might, could use a larger filling spike, or probably just step it back down to a 20, but it's not bad either. But let's see if it'll even run now. We'll first start. Definitely a lot healthier. she's pulling that 24 real nice. Just, you know, she's 61 for the first couple of shakedown runs. I think she's running really good. Once we get a good ring seat and get our total static compression that we're going to have, I think she'll run real nice. But with all that said, really appreciate you guys watching, each and every one of you, and y'all have a good day.